Well, Josh here with Dan Tortora, Wake Up Call, Josh Black, D lineman here on the team. Josh, just what you can say through these first 7 games you've learned the most about the team at this point.
Well, I learned the most that, we're not giving up. We're always fighting. Yeah, some things aren't going our way, but that's the game of football. You just got to forgive and also forget, but I end up learning from the experience as well. I mean, you see in these last couple games, we've only been losing by 3 points. That really comes down to who's executing their play calls better, who's making the most plays, and we're just one play away each one of these games. So obviously it's a little bit frustrating, but we know we're right there, and we're always excited to get back to practice and keep continuing to develop.
You decided to come back for this extra season. Being so close, knowing that, you had that bad taste in your mouth from 1-10. Where are you now, knowing that the team is right there, and obviously you came back for a reason? Is it frustrating that it's looking better, but it's still not, necessarily turning out as a win?
Yeah, it's a little bit frustrating. We should have a winning record right now for sure. But that's part of the reason I came back. Someone's gonna have to help guide everybody, keep everybody along, because it's hard to stay together when you've been losing by the same situation each game. You start to get tired. You start to get frustrated. But we have to keep cohesive, and that's the big thing right now. We're all together. It's much different than last year. We'd lose a game, we'd all kind of be frustrated with each other, but now we're building each other up. All right, what can we do better there? What can we do better here? And that's what's different from last year's team opposed to this year's team.
How do you stay focused when you're frustrated?
Well, basically, you just gotta figure out the end goal. What do you want to be? So the way we're looking at it right now, obviously we have a losing record, and the thing is, we can achieve so much. We've seen each other on film. We know what we're capable of, and it's all about being confident. We're really confident in what we do, and we just got to make more plays, and that's how we kind of stay together. We've seen what we can do on film, so let's put it on the field for a whole 60 minutes instead of 48 minutes, 50 minutes. We got to play a whole game. That's what we're working to do.
Cody Roscoe spoke about the fact that the defense starts on fire and you just have to finish. Why does the fire go out a little bit toward the end? What can you say about that?
To be honest, maybe a little. Sometimes things don't go our way. We get bad play calls here and there. Just overall, the offensive guys, again, when we're playing against the offense, they're making plays. Obviously on defense we're making plays. Like I said, we're going out fire, we're having fun, we're out there hitting everything. And sometimes momentum gets taken away from you when they make a spectacular play. So it's like, we're shutting them down all game, and then they get messed around and get like a 40-yard touchdown. It's a little bit unfortunate when that happens, but at that point you got to regroup and play that one play mentality. It's all right, they beat us on this play. They're on scholarship too. They're going to make plays. They're great athletes also, and that's where the one play mentality comes into play. All right, they got me this play, I'm gonna get them next play, and that's what it really comes down to in the end.
Florida State, that game was so close, and defensively he played well against Jordan Travis, and then a couple big runs that he had. When you go back to that game, what do you see defensively on the field? Was it just not finishing? Was it, just mistakes? What did you put that on? Because Syracuse has never won in Tallahassee, and you guys were a couple seconds from potentially doing something like that.
Right, I'd say near the end of the game, we had a couple miscues, a few mental errors that kind of costed us. And with conference games like that, you make one mental error, it might cost you the end game. You see this happen the last couple of weeks, and just one miscue is kind of, it bites you in the butt for sure. We practice it all week in practice, and then you get into the game, you're not fully there sometimes, you're tired. The atmosphere is different. You're on the road. There's a lot of different variables that come into play when you get to near the end of the game. But that's where we got to finish. We got to give the extra 10% effort at the end of the game to make sure that doesn't happen again. Ultimately, Florida State ended up making some great plays on their feet and got them into the field goal range and won them the game.
And then at Wake, you guys were doing what you needed to do a lot of that game, and it was going back and forth, and you fought back, and obviously Sean Tucker made incredible plays as he does. Bring me into the last portion of that game in overtime and how close that one was as well.
Right, so if you know anything about Syracuse, we're a big overtime team. We feel like we're always going to beat the other team in overtime. And we're playing very, very solid defense. We had a great game plan going on. We're shutting down the run, and they're starting to throw the ball in the air more. That's where kind of they got their more yards and touchdowns and more plays from. And, just being in overtime right there, I really felt like we were going to get them. But, when the quarterback makes a spectacular throw and the wide receiver makes a spectacular catch, there's not much you can do about it. There's pressure on the quarterback. We're playing great coverage, too. And, it's just one of those plays like, oh, man, we just got beat, right there. That's athlete versus athlete. That's a bang-bang situation. It can go one way, it can go the other. And, the ball didn't roll our way definitely that game. But, going throughout the entire game, there are a couple plays that we wanted back as a defense, but you just got to keep getting better, keep forgetting about those plays because it might come to get you later in the season too. So it's always something to keep in the back of your mind for sure.
And then Clemson, DJ Uyunglele comes in, and all of the hype that Clemson always has at the beginning of the season, and you guys played them down to the wire and kept that close. I mean, what did you see from that game? And then secondly, what do you want to say about Andre Szmyt? Because I think people are maybe looking at him from a snapshot point of view and forgetting the fact that he's made plenty of field goals and plenty of tough situations.
In my opinion, it should never have to come down to the last play of the game, the last field goal. You should never have to pin the game on one person. You look at the entire game, and I hear a lot of people commenting about, oh, it's Andre's fault that we lost. That's nowhere near the case. How are you going to blame one person? If we would have defended them out the end zone, we wouldn't have this problem, right? If we didn't give up the 14 points, this would not be. This would not be a situation going into that, into the last game. to the last drive. And, just things like that. Yeah, it's just, overall, we should have just executed throughout the entire game better. It had nothing to do with him. It was just one of those things that's happening. Sometimes it happens. On the defensive side of the ball, we run the wrong play sometimes. On the offensive side of the ball, sometimes everybody's not on the same page. And just overall, that game comes down to the nitty-gritty details that we got to focus on to get better.
Offense, defense, and special teams, when you put it all together, losing all 3 ACC games by 3 points apiece, how do you stop the bleeding now and not let a loss or 3 losses make you lose again? You talked about that, like not holding on to something that you didn't like because it can get you later on. How do you close the gap now?
Well, we just got to look forward from here. Obviously, we're looking back at film, but not from how we lost, but just from a schematic standpoint, technique and things like that. We're looking back on that, but not like how we lost. And just keeping everything in front of us. We know the sky's the limit. We got a lot of young talent on this team, and we know what we can do with it. We also have a lot of older talent too, and just not getting caught up in the hype because there's a lot of media going on, like, oh, Syracuse, isn't this Syracuse, isn't that? No one's in this facility except for us. We're practicing, we're watching film, we're going to rehab, all this stuff to make sure to make sure we give a great appearance for the fans. That's our number one priority, is try to make the fans feel appreciated. We're working our tails off for them to make sure we get some wins and make sure they feel good as well as we do when we win. So definitely we have a lot of dip on our chip for sure, but it's not nothing we're not used to around at Syracuse. We're always the underdogs. We know what everybody's saying about us. It's how to stay positive and confident while all this stuff is happening to us.
How do you stay positive and confident? How do you shut out the outside? I always say outside noise by definition belongs outside. Right. So how do you keep it outside, and how do you keep the focus and not really care about the opinions of people that are not in this program?
So the way that I think about it is, your situation could always be worse. Yeah, right now we're 3-4. We could be 0-7. It could be always way worse. We're waking up every day. We're blessed to be here. By the grace of God, we're blessed to wake up. We're blessed to have practice. We're blessed to be with our brothers every day, get better every single day. Some people don't have that opportunity. Sometimes their clock runs out. You never know when your time is gone off this earth, and that's something you got to take every day, day by day. And it's just something that I feel like we, as a whole team, take really account of that. Because after this season, the team is never going to be the same. We have a lot of guys leaving, a lot of our older guys, and it's never going to be composed of the same guys on this team. So we're taking everything day by day and making sure we get the most out of it.
With Tommy DeVito moving forward, I want to make sure that I spoke with you today because you're one of the vets on this team and you've spent a lot of time with Tommy. Did he speak with you? Did he speak with the team at all? And what was it like to find out the news?
It was a little bit, of surprise for me, but obviously I understand his situation. He's a grown man. He needs to do what he needs to do for sure. And I got no remorse from him. Love the kid to death. I'll do whatever for that man. I mean, he's, we've been through it all, the summer workouts and joking around, things like that. And I'm always going to be a Tommy DeVito fan for sure. I'm going to follow his career path. But it all comes down to what he needed to do to be, the player he wanted to be. And just how the situation kind of shook out and the things that happened. And, I'm going to support whatever he does. I mean, I was on Twitter when I saw it. My heart kind of just dropped. I was like, oh man, Tommy's my guy. Like, I'll do anything for him. And him just not being here, just kind of just didn't feel right with me coming into the facility. It's like, oh man, Tommy D isn't here. I mean, just his overall attitude and the way he carries himself. It felt like a little bit of a little aspect was kind of missing from the locker room for sure. And it's just making sure we're progressing from that, because obviously it's like, oh, you see Tommy transfer, like oh man, our mood is going to be mellow, but that's not the case. We know what we have to do, and we just keep moving on from that.
Not only Tommy, but Jarvion Howard, Taj Harris. How do you stay focused, and when there's adversity on the field and then adversity off the field? I feel like it's not spoken about enough that in the locker room, when somebody's not there, be it injury or transfer or whatever, you feel that. So how do you not let that get to this team, the fact that 3 of your brothers are gone?
Right, so it's definitely a double whammy. Like you said, it's on the field and off the field, especially with them being impact players. They're really good players for us too, and for them to transfer, it's like, oh man, like it's kind of a little hitting the head a little bit. Like you look in the locker room, their locker is all cleaned out. Like that's the one that gets you the most. Their name tag is off the locker. Their locker's fully clean. It's like, oh man, one of my brothers, he's transferring, but we all know it's in their best interest. So that's where we're really positive about things. They would want us to do the right thing that we felt comfortable with, and so we're going to support them whatever they do too. And it's next man up mentality. When one person can't go, the next man up is. It could create a better possibility. It could create also better practice habits for the guys who didn't get as much reps as they want to in practice. And overall, it helps the team grow for sure when adversity happens like that.
What's been Dino's message with the transferring portion of this, and of course the team at 3 and 4? What's been his message? What's kind of resonating with you, maybe?
Just stay focused. I know it sounds cliche, but like we've been talking about, it's easy to get distracted with off the field issues, and then from guys in your program transferring out. I mean, you could let it affect you, and then you could go on the practice field playing slow, just be thinking about too many things at once when we got a great task at hand. I mean, the way the ACC is this year, anybody can win any game. There's no huge top dog that's blowing everyone out by 80 points and things like that. So the ACC is definitely shaking up this year. It's definitely up for grabs, and we could mess around and win the rest of these games. Like everything is possible at this point. I mean, just look at our games we played this year. No one was expecting them to be this close a game, but obviously we want to win. But it's just how the game of football works. One team's going to win, one team's going to lose. You both learn from both situations, whether win or lose, but you learn more from losing, and that's why I'm really confident going into these last couple weeks of the season, knowing that what we did wrong and how we can fix them.
Have you seen a change in Garrett Schrader as a leader on this team? With Tommy leaving, is there more on his shoulders? Has he gotten more serious? Has he gotten more vocal? I mean, now that he's the guy, how have you seen him maybe adjust to that, or has he changed at all?
So he's always been a vocal guy. He's always expressed what he saw on the field, what he saw off the field, which I really think highly of Garrett Schrader for sure. But overall on the field, I see him being way more confident with the ball in his hands. I see him just overall just playing way faster than the first couple weeks when he was in a little bit, and now he's making plays all over the field. He's so fun to watch. It's like watching a Madden game. Like he's like Michael Vick or something, just running around everybody. He's a great athlete, and practicing against him, brings the defense a lot of experience as well, because going into Virginia Tech, we're playing a dual threat quarterback also, really fast, can escape out the pocket just like Florida State. And so, having this awareness is going to help us out for sure down the line.
Are you doing 1v1s in practice? Is your defense getting a shot at Schrader in them?
Right now, We're not because, just in case something happens, God forbid something happens, knock on wood, just in case someone, maybe rolls an ankle, doing all the extra stuff and things like that. But we're always keeping it cognizant. We're doing a lot of different drills to make sure the quarterbacks don't get out the pocket and things of that nature. Trying to play it safe, but also keep the intensity up.
Is that a nice way of saying that you would put a lick on somebody if you had to?
if it came down to it, yes, definitely. But yeah, we're keeping everybody up right now. Make sure everyone's healthy going into this game. Make sure that we can give Virginia Tech our best possible outcome.
Thanks, Josh. As always, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.